On this episode, we'll be going through some of the work of John Keats. Now, this podcast gets its name from this next poem, Ode to a Nightingale. The mockingbird is the state bird of Mississippi. It's very southern, etc. So we're going to start with this one, Ode to a Nightingale by John Keats. My heart aches, and a drowsy numbness pains my sense, as though of hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dull opiate to the drains 1 minute past, and leafwards had sunk. 'Tis not through envy of thy happy lot, but being too happy in thine happiness, that thou, light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious spot of beechen green and shadows numberless, singest of summer in full-throated ease. Oh, for a draught of vintage that hath been cooled a long age in the deep-delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green, dance and provincial song and sunburnt mirth. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south, full of the true, the blushful hippocrene, with beaded bubbles winking at the brim and purple-stained mouth, that I might drink and leave the world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim. Fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever, and the fret. Here where men sit and hear each other groan, where palsy shakes a few sad last gray hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow and leaden-eyed despairs, where beauty cannot keep her lustrous eyes, or new love pine at them beyond tomorrow. Away, away, for I will fly to thee, not charioted by Bacchus and his pards, but on the viewless wings of poesy, though the dull brain perplexes and retards, already with thee, tender as the night, and haply the queen moon is on her throne, clustered around by all her starry face. But here there is no light, save what from heaven is with the breezes blown, through verdurous glooms and winding mossy ways. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but in embalmed darkness guess each sweet wherewith the seasonable month endows, the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eves. Darkling I listen, and for many a time I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names in many a mused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath. Now more than ever seems it rich to die, to cease upon the midnight with no pain, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. Still wouldest thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sod. Thou wast not born for death, immortal bird. No hungry generations tread thee down. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperor and clown. Perhaps the self-same song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth, when sick for home she stood in tears amid the alien corn, the same that ofttimes hath charmed magic casements, opening on the foam of perilous seas and fairy lands forlorn. forlorn. The very word is like a bell to roll me back from thee to my sole self. Adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do, deceiving elf. Adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem fades past the near meadows, over the still stream, up the hillside, and now 'tis buried deep in the next valley glades. Was it a vision or a waking dream? Fled is that music. Do I wake or sleep? Bright star, bright star, would I were steadfast as thou art, not in lone splendor hung aloft the night and watching with eternal lids apart, like nature's patient, sleepless eremite, the moving waters at their priest-like task of pure ablution round earth's human shores, or gazing on the new fallen mask of snow upon the mountains and the moors. No, yet still steadfast, still unchangeable, pillowed upon my fair love's ripening breast, to feel forever its soft fall and swell, awake forever in a sweet unrest, still, still to hear her tender taken breath, and so live ever, or else swoon to death. To sleep. O soft embalmer of the still midnight, shutting with careful fingers and benign our gloom-pleased eyes, embowered from the light, enshaded in forgetfulness divine. O soothest sleep, if so it please thee, close in the midst of this thine hymn my willing eyes, or wait the amen ere thy poppy throws around my bed its lulling charities. Then save me, or the past day will shine upon my pillow, breeding many woes. Save me from curious conscience that still lords its strength for darkness, burrowing like a mole. Turn the key deftly in the oiled wards, and seal the hushed casket of my soul. On the grasshopper and cricket. The poetry of earth is never dead. When all the birds are faint with the hot sun and hide in the cooling trees, a voice will run from hedge to hedge about the new-mown mead. That is the grasshopper's. He takes the lead in summer luxury. He has never done with his delights, for when tired out with fun, he rests at ease beneath some pleasant weed. The poetry of earth is ceasing never. On a lone winter evening, when the frost has wrought a silence, from the stove there shrills the cricket's song, in warmth increasing ever, and seems to one in drowsiness half lost, the grasshoppers among some grassy hills. Excerpt from Hyperion, Book 1. Deep in the shady sadness of a vale, far sunken from the healthy breath of morn, far from the fiery noon and eve's one star, sat gray-haired Saturn, quiet as a stone, still as the silence round about his lair. Forest on forest hung about his head, like cloud on cloud. No stir of air was there. Not so much life as on a summer's day robs not one light seed from the feather's grass, but where the dead leaf fell, there did it rest. A stream went voiceless by, still deadened more by reason of his fallen divinity, spreading a shade. The naiad mid her reeds pressed her cold finger closer to her lips. Along the margin sand large footmarks went, no further than to where his feet had strayed and slept there since. Upon the sodden ground his old right hand lay nerveless, listless, dead, unsceptered, and his realmless eyes were closed, while his bowed head seemed listening to the earth, his ancient mother, for some comfort yet. It seemed no force could wake him from his place, but there came one who with a kindred hand touched his wide shoulders after bending low with reverence, though to one who knew it not. She was a goddess of the infant world. By her in stature the tall Amazon had stood a pygmy's height. She would have taken Achilles by the hair and bent his neck, or with a finger stayed Ixion's wheel. Her face was large as that of Memphian Sphinx, pedestaled happily in a palace court when sages looked to Egypt for their lore. But oh, how unlike marble was that face! How beautiful! If sorrow had not made sorrow more beautiful than beauty's self. There was a listening fear in her regard, as if calamity had but begun, as if the vanward clouds of evil days had spent their malice and the sullen rear was with its stored thunder laboring up. One hand she pressed upon that aching spot where beats the human heart, as if just there, though an immortal, she felt cruel pain. The other upon Saturn's bended neck she laid, and to the level of his ear, leaning with parted lips, some words she spake in solemn tenor and deep organ tone. Some mourning words, which in our feeble tongue would come in these like accents, oh how frail to that large utterance of the early gods. Saturn, look up, though wherefore, poor old king? I have no comfort for thee, no, not one. I cannot say, oh wherefore sleepest thou? For heaven is parted from thee, and the earth knows thee not, thus afflicted for a god. And ocean too, with all its solemn noise, has from thy scepter passed, and all the air is emptied of thine hoary majesty. Thy thunder, conscience of the new command, rumbles reluctant o'er our fallen house, and thy sharp lightning in unpracticed hands scorches and burns our once serene domain. O aching time, O moments big as years, all as ye pass swell out the monstrous truth and press it so upon our weary griefs that unbelief has not a space to breathe. Saturn, sleep on. O thoughtless, why did I thus violate thy slumberous solitude? Why should I ope thy melancholy eyes? Saturn, sleep on, while at thy feet I weep. As when upon a truant summer night those green-robed senators of mighty woods, tall oaks, branch charmed by the earnest stars, dream and so dream all night without a stir, save from one gradual solitary gust which comes upon the silence and dies off as if the ebbing air had but one wave. So came these words and went, the while in tears she touched her fairy large forehead to the ground, just where her fallen hair might be outspread, a soft and silken mat for Saturn's feet. One moon with alteration slow had shed her silver seasons 4 upon the night, and still these two were postured motionless, like natural sculpture in cathedral cavern. The frozen god still couchant on the earth, and the sad goddess weeping at his feet. Until at length old Saturn lifted up his faded eyes and saw his kingdom gone, and all the gloom and sorrow of the place, and that fair kneeling goddess. And then spake as with a palsied tongue, and while his beard shook horrid with such aspen malady, O tender spouse of gold Hyperion, Thea, I feel thee ere I see thy face. Look up, and let me see our doom in it. Look up, and tell me if this feeble shape is Saturn's. Tell me if thou hear'st the voice of Saturn. Tell me if this wrinkling brow, naked and bare of its great diadem, peers like the front of Saturn. Who had power to make me desolate? Whence came the strength? How was it nurtured to such bursting forth, which fate seemed strangled in my nervous grasp? But it is so, and I am smothered up and buried from all godlike exercise of influence benign on planets pale, of admonitions to the winds and seas, of peaceful sway above man's harvesting, and all those acts which Deity Supreme doth ease its heart of love in. I am gone away from my own bosom. I have left my strong identity, my real self, somewhere between the throne, and where I sit, here on this spot of earth. Search, Thea, search. Open thine eyes eterne, and sphere them round upon all space. Space starred and lorn of light, space regioned with life air and barren void, spaces of fire and all the yawn of hell. Search, Thea, search, and tell me if thou seest a certain shape or shadow making thy way with wings, or chariot fierce to repossess a heaven he lost erstwhile. It must be ripe of progress. Saturn must be king. Yes, there must be a golden victory. There must be gods thrown down, and trumpets blown, of trumpets calm, and hymns of festival upon the gold clouds metropolitan. Voices of soft proclaim, and silver stir of strings and hollow shells. And there shall be beautiful things made new for the surprise of the sky children. I will give command. Thea, 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 where is Saturn? This passion lifted him upon his feet and made his hands to struggle in the air, his druid locks to shake and ooze with sweat, his eyes to fever out, his voice to cease. He stood and heard not Thea's sobbing deep. A little time, and then again he snatched utterance thus: But cannot I create? Cannot I form? Cannot I fashion forth another world, another universe, to overbear and crumble this to naught? Where is another chaos? Where? That word found my way onto Olympus, and made shake the rebel three. Thea was startled up, and in her bearing was a sort of hope, as thus she quick-voiced spake, yet full of awe: This cheers our fallen house. Come to our friends, O Saturn, come away and give them heart. I know the covert, from thence came I thither. Thus brief, then with beseeching eyes she went with backward footing through the shade of space. He followed, and she turned to lead the way, through aged boughs that yielded like the mist which eagles cleave up mountain from their nest. Meanwhile, in other realms, big tears were shed, more sorrow like to this and such like woe. Too huge for mortal tongue or pen of scribe, the Titans fierce, self-hid or prison-bound, groaned for the old allegiance once more, and listened in sharp pain for Saturn's voice. But one of the whole mammoth brood still kept his sovereignty and rule and majesty. Blazing Hyperion with his orbed fire still sat, still snuffed the incense, teeming up from man to the sun's god, yet unsecure. For as among us mortals omens drear fright and perplex, so also shuddered he, not at dog's howl or gloom bird's hated screech or the familiar visiting of one upon the first toll of his passing bell, or prophesying of the midnight lamp, but horrors portioned to a giant nerve oft made Hyperion ache. His palace bright bastioned with pyramids of glowing gold and touched with shade of bronzed obelisks, glared a blood red through all its 1,000 courts, arches, and domes, and fiery galleries. And all its curtains of Aurorian clouds flushed angrily, while sometimes eagles' wings, unseen before by gods or wondering men, darkened the place, and the neighing steeds were heard, not heard before by gods or wondering men. Also, when he would taste the spicy wreaths of incense, breathed aloft from sacred hills, instead of sweets, his ample palate took savor of poisonous brass and metal sick. And so, when harbored in the sleepy west, after the full complexion of fair day, for rest divine upon exalted couch and slumber in the arms of melody, he'd pace away the pleasant hours of ease with stride colossal, on from hall to hall, while far within each aisle and deep recess his winged minions in close clusters stood, amazed and full of fear, like anxious men who on wide plains gather in panting troops when earthquakes jar their battlements and towers. Even now, when Saturn, roused from icy trance, went step for step with Thea through the woods, Hyperion, leaving twilight in the rear, came slope upon the threshold of the west. Then, as was wont, his palace door flew ope, in smoothest silence, save what solemn tubes, blown by the serious zephyrs, gave of sweet and wandering sounds, slow-breathed melodies. And like a rose in vermeil tint and shape, in fragrance soft and coolness to the eye, that inlet to severe magnificence stood full blown for the god to enter in. He entered, but he entered full of wrath. His flaming robes streamed out beyond his heels and gave a roar as if of earthly fire that scared away the meek ethereal hours and made their dove wings tremble. On he flared, from stately nave to nave, from vault to vault, through bowers of fragrant and enwreathed light, and diamond-paved, lustrous long arcades, until he reached the great main cupola. There, standing fierce beneath, he stamped his foot, and from the basements deep to the high towers jarred his own golden region. And before the quavering thunder thereupon had ceased, his voice leaped out, despite of godlike curb to this result. O dreams of day and night, O monstrous forms, O effigies of pain, O spectres busy in a cold, cold gloom, O lank-eared phantoms of black-weeded pools, why do I know ye? Why have I seen ye? Why is my eternal essence thus distraught to see and to behold these horrors new? Saturn is fallen. Am I too to fall? Am I to leave this haven of my rest, this cradle of my glory, this soft clime, this calm luxuriance of blissful light, these crystalline pavilions and pure fanes of all my lucent empire? Is it left deserted, void, nor any haunt of mine? The blaze, the splendor, and the symmetry I cannot see, but darkness, death and darkness. Even here, into my center of repose, the shady visions come to domineer, insult and blind, and stifle up my pomp. Fall. No. By Tellus and her briny robes, over the fiery frontier of my realms I will advance. A terrible right arm shall scare that infant thunderer, rebel Jove, and bid old Saturn take his throne again. He spake and ceased, the while a heavier threat held struggle with his throat, but came not forth. For as in the theaters of crowded men, hubbub increases more when they call out, "Hush!" So at Hyperion's words the phantoms pale bestirred themselves, thrice horrible and cold, and from the mirrored level where he stood a mist arose, as from a scummy marsh. At this, through all his bulk, in agony crept gradual from feet unto the crown, like a lithe serpent, vast and muscular, making slow way with head and neck convulsed from overstrained might. Released, he fled to the eastern gates, and full 6 dewy hours before the dawn in seasoned dew should blush, he breathed fierce breath against the sleepy portals, cleared them of heavy vapors, burst them wide suddenly on the ocean's chilly streams. The planet orb of fire, whereon he rode each day from east to west, the heavens through, spun round in sable curtaining of clouds, nor therefore veiled quite, blindfold and hid, but ever and anon the glancing spheres, circles and arcs, and broad belting color, glowed through and wrought upon the muffling dark, sweet-shaped lightnings from the nadir deep up to the zenith, hieroglyphics old, which sages and keen-eyed astrologers, then living on the earth with laboring thought, won from the gaze of many centuries. Now lost, save what we find on remnants huge of stone or marble swart, their imports gone, their wisdom long since fled. 2 wings this orb possessed for glory, 2 fair argent wings, ever exalted at the god's approach. And now from forth the gloom their plumes immense rose one by one, till all outspreaded were, while still the dazzling globe maintained eclipse, awaiting for Hyperion's command. Fain would he have commanded, fain took throne and bid the day again, if but for change. He might not. No, through a primeval god, the sacred seasons might not be disturbed. Therefore the operations of the dawn stayed in their birth, even as here 'tis told, those silver wings expanded sisterly, eager to sail their orb, the porches wide opened upon the dusked immenses of night, and the bright Titan, frenzied with new woes, unused to bend, by hard compulsion bent his spirit to the sorrow of time. And all along a dismal rack of clouds, upon the boundaries of day and night, he stretched himself in grief and radiance faint. There as he lay, the heavens with its stars looked down on him with pity, and the voice of Colas from the universal space thus whispered low and solemn in his ear, "O brightest of my children, dear earth-born and sky-engendered, son of mysteries, all unrevealed even to the powers which met at thy creating, at whose joys and palpitations sweet and pleasures soft, I, Colas, wonder how they came and whence, and at the fruits whereof what shapes they be, distinct and visible, symbols divine, manifestations of that beauteous life diffused, unseen, throughout eternal space. Of these new-formed art thou, O brightest child. Of these thy brethren and the goddesses. There is sad feud among ye, and rebellion of son against his sire. I saw him fall. I saw my firstborn tumbled from his throne. To me his arms were spread. To me his voice found way from forth the thunders round his head. Pale walks I, and in vapors hid my face. Art thou too near such doom? Vague fear there is, for I have seen my sons most unlike gods. Divine you were created, and divine in sad demeanor, solemn, undisturbed, unruffled, like high gods ye lived and ruled. Now I behold in you fear, hope, and wrath, actions of rage and passion, even as I see them on the mortal world beneath, in men who die. This is the grief, O son, sad sign of ruin, sudden dismay and fall. Yet do thou strive as thou art capable, as thou canst move about an evident God, and canst oppose to each malignant hour ethereal presence. I am but a voice. My life is but the life of winds and tides. No more than winds and tides can I avail, but thou canst. Be thou therefore in the van of circumstances. Yea, seize the arrow's barb before the tense string murmur to the earth. For there thou wilt find Saturn and his woes. Meanwhile, I will keep watch on thy bright sun, and of thy seasons be a careful nurse. Ere half this region whisper had come down, Hyperion arose, and on the stars lifted his curved lids, and kept them wide until it ceased. And still he kept them wide, and still they were the same bright, patient stars. Then, with a slow incline of his broad breast, like to a diver in the pearly seas, forward he stooped over the airy shore, and plunged, all noiseless, into the deep night. In this episode, we'll be reading some poems from Elizabeth Barrett Browning. A couple years back, a good friend of mine named Chris, who's a singer, songwriter, and poet, said that if he were born 150 years earlier, he'd asked her out on a date. And I told Chris, if I was born 150 years earlier, I'd have challenged you to a duel. So sit back and relax, and let's dive right in. How do I love thee? Sonnet 43. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith. I love thee with the love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. Bird Spirit. I am the nearest nightingale that singeth in Eden after you, and I am singing loud and true and sweet. I do not fail. I sit upon a cypress bough close to the gate, and I fling my song over the gate and through the mail of the warden angels marshaled strong over the gate and after you. And the warden angels let it pass, because the poor brown bird, alas, sings in the garden, sweet and true. And I build my song of high, pure notes, note over note, height over height, till I strike the arch of the infinite, and I bridge abysmal agonies with strong, clear calms of harmonies. And something abides, and something floats in the song which I sing after you. Fare ye well, farewell. The creature sounds, no longer audible, expire at Eden's door. Each footstep of your reading treads out some cadence which ye heard before. Farewell. The birds of Eden ye shall hear nevermore. The sleep. Of all the thoughts of God that are borne inward into souls afar, along the psalmist music deep, now tell me if that any is for gift or grace surpassing this, he giveth his beloved sleep. What would we give to our beloved? The hero's heart to be unmoved, the poet's star-tuned harp to sweep, the patriot's voice to teach and rouse, the monarch's crown to light the brows. He giveth his beloved sleep. What do we give to our beloved? A little faith all undisproved, a little dust to oversweep, and bitter memories to make the whole earth blasted for our sake. He giveth his beloved sleep. Sleep soft, beloved, we sometimes say, who have no tune to charm away sad dreams that through the eyelids creep, but never doleful dream again shall break the happy slumber when he giveth his beloved sleep. O earth, so full of dreary noises, O men with wailing in your voices, O delved gold the wailer's heap. O strife, O curse that o'er it fall, God strikes a silence through you all, and giveth his beloved sleep. His dews drop mutely on the hill, his cloud above it saileth still, though on its slope men sow and reap. More softly than the dew is shed, or cloud is floated overhead, he giveth his beloved sleep. Aye, men may wonder while they scan a living, thinking, feeling man, confirmed in such a rest to keep. But angels say, and through the word I think their happy smile is heard, he giveth his beloved sleep. For me, my heart that erst did go most like a tired child at a show, that sees through tears the mummer's leap, would now its wearied vision close, would childlike on his love repose, who giveth his beloved sleep. And friends, dear friends, when it shall be that this low breath is gone from me, and round my bier ye come to weep, let one most loving of you all say, not a tear must o'er her fall. He giveth his beloved sleep. Consolation. All are not taken. There are left behind living beloveds, tender looks to bring and make the daylight still a happy thing, and tender voices to make soft the wind. But if it were not so, if I could find no love in all this world for comforting, nor any path but hollowly did ring where dust to dust the love from life disjoined, and if before those sepulchres unmoving I stood alone, as some forsaken lamb goes bleating up the moors in weary dearth, crying, where are ye, O my loved and loving? I know a voice would sound, daughter, I am. Can I suffice for heaven and not for earth? The autumn. Go sit upon the lofty hill and turn your eyes around where waving woods and waters wild do hymn an autumn sound. The summer sun is faint on them, the summer flowers depart. Sit still as all transformed to stone, except your musing heart. How there you sat in summertime may yet be in your mind, and how you heard the green woods sing beneath the freshening wind. Though the same wind now blows around, you would its blast recall, for every breath that stirs the trees doth cause a leaf to fall. Oh, like that wind is all the mirth that flesh and dust impart. We cannot bear its visitings when change is on the heart. Gay words and jests may make us smile when sorrow is asleep, but other things must make us smile when sorrow bids us weep. The dearest hands that clasp our hands their presence may be o'er. The dearest voice that meets our ear, that tone may come no more. Youth fades, and then the joys of youth, which once refreshed our mind, shall come, as on those Sion woods the chilling autumn wind. Hear not the wind, view not the woods. Look out o'er vale and hill and spring, the sky encircled them, the sky is round them still. Come autumn's scathe, come winter's cold, come change and human fate. Whatever prospect heaven doth bound can ne'er be desolate. The House of Clouds. I would build a cloudy house for my thoughts to live in, when for earth too fancy loose and too low for heaven. Hush, I talk my dream aloud. I build it bright to see. I build it on the moonlit cloud to which I looked with thee. Cloud walls of the morning's gray, faced with amber column, crowned with crimson cupola from the sunset solemn. May mists for the casements fetch, pale and glimmering with a sunbeam hid in each, and a smell of spring. Build the entrance high and proud, darkening and then brightening. If a river thundercloud veined by the lightning, use one with an iris stain for the door within, turn into a sound like rain as I enter in. Build a spacious hall thereby, boldly, never fearing. Use the blue place of the sky, which the wind is clearing. Use the blue place of the sky, which the wind is clearing, branched with corridors sublime, flecked with winding stairs, such as children wish to climb, following their own prayers. In the mutest of the house I will have my chamber. Silence at the door shall use evening's light of amber, solemnizing every mood, softening in degree, turning sadness into good as I turn the key. Be my chamber tapestried with the showers of summer, close but soundless, glorified when the sunbeams come here. Wandering harpers harping on waters stringed for such, drawing color for a tune with a vibrant touch. Bring a shadow green and still from the chestnut forest. Bring a purple from the hill when the heat is sorest. Spread them out from wall to wall, carpet wove around, whereupon the foot shall fall in light instead of sound. Bring fantasque cloudlets home from the noontide zenith, ranged for sculptures round the room, named as fancy weeneth. Some be Junos without eyes, naiads without sources. Some be birds of paradise, some Olympian horses. Bring the dews the birds shake off, waken in the hedges. Those two perfumed for a proof from the lily's edges, from our England's field and moor. Bring them calm and white in, whence to form a mirror pure for love's self-delighting. Bring a gray cloud from the east where the lark is singing, something of the song at least unlost in the bringing, that shall be a morning chair poet dream may sit in when it leans out on the air, unrhymed and unwritten. Bring the red cloud from the sun, while he sinketh catch it. This shall be a couch with one sidelong star to watch it, fit for the poet's finest thought at the curfew sounding. Things unseen being nearer brought than the scene around him. Poet's thought, not a poet's sigh, lest they come together. Cloudy walls divide and fly as in April weather. Cupola and column proud, structure bright to see, gone, except that moonlit cloud to which I looked with thee. Let them. Wipe such visionings from the fancy's cartel. Love secures some fairer things, dowered with his immortal. The sun may darken, heaven be bowed, but still unchanged shall be. Here in my soul that moonlit cloud to which I looked with thee. My heart and I. Enough. We're tired, my heart and I. We sit beside the headstone thus, and wish that name were carved for us. The moss reprints more tenderly the hard types of the mason's knife, as heaven's sweet life renews earth's life, with which we're tired, my heart and I. You see, we're tired, my heart and I. We dealt with books, we trusted men, and in our own blood drenched the pen as if such colors could not fly. We walked too straight for fortune's end. We loved too true to keep a friend. At last, we're tired, my heart and I. How tired we feel, my heart and I. We seem of no use in the world. Our fancies hang gray and uncurled about men's eyes indifferently. Our voice, which thrilled you so, will let you sleep. Our tears are only wet. What do we here, my heart and I? So tired, my heart and I. It was not thus in that old time when Ralph sat with me 'neath the lime to watch the sunset from the sky. "Dear love, you're looking tired," he said. I, smiling at him, shook my head. "'Tis now we're tired, my heart and I. So tired, my heart and I. Though now none takes me on his arm to fold me close and kiss me warm, till each quick breath end in a sigh of happy languor. Now, alone, we lean upon this graveyard stone, uncheered, unkissed, my heart and I. Tired out we are, my heart and I. Suppose the world brought diadems to tempt us, crusted with loose gems of powers and pleasures. Let it try. We scarcely care to look at even a pretty child or God's blue heaven. We feel so tired, my heart and I. Yet who complains, my heart and I? In this abundant earth, no doubt, is little room for things worn out. Disdain them, break them, throw them by, and if before the days grew rough, we once were loved us well enough, I think we've fared, my heart and I. Sonnet 14. If thou must love me, let it be for naught except for love's sake only. Do not say, I love her for her smile, her look, her way of speaking gently, for a trick of thought that falls in well with mine and certes brought a sense of pleasant ease on such a day. For these things in themselves, beloved, may be changed, or change for thee, and love so wrought may be unwrought so. Neither love me for thine own dear pities wiping my cheeks dry. A creature might forget to weep who bore thy comfort long and lose thy love thereby. But love me for love's sake, that evermore thou mayest love on through love's eternity. Hey, it's good to have you back. We're about to read from Emily Bronte's wonderful collection of poems. Now, you might know her from Wuthering Heights. It's probably what she's best known for. Absolute classic. But her poems are outstanding. And that's what we'll read this evening. And since she was fond of cold, gray, blustery days, just imagine that the weather outside is cold. You can hear the wind, but you're inside sitting by a fire, and we're just reading some poetry. So let's get started. Fall leaves fall. Fall leaves fall. Die flowers away. Lengthen night and shorten day. Every leaf speaks bliss to me, fluttering from the autumn tree. I shall smile when wreaths of snow blossom where the rose should grow. I shall sing when night's decay ushers in a drearier day. Ah, why because the dazzling sun? Ah, why because the dazzling sun restored my earth to joy, have you departed every one and left a desert sky? All through the night, your glorious eyes were gazing down in mine, and with a full heart's thankful sighs, I blessed that watch divine. I was at peace and drank your beams as they were life to me, and reveled in my changeful dreams like petrel on the sea. Thought followed thought, star followed star, through boundless regions on, while one sweet influence, near and far, thrilled through and proved us one. Why did the morning rise to break so great, so pure a spell, and scorch with fire the tranquil cheek where your cool radiance fell? Blood red he rose, an arrow straight, his fierce beams struck my brow. The soul of nature sprang elate, but mine sank sad and low. My lids closed down, yet through their veil I saw him blazing still, and bathe in gold the misery dale, and flash upon the hill. I turned me to the pillow then, to call back night and see your worlds of solemn light again throb with my heart and me. It would not do. The pillow glowed, and glowed both roof and floor, and birds sang loudly in the wood, and fresh winds shook the door. The curtains waved, the wakened flies were murmuring round my room, imprisoned there till I should rise and give them leave to roam. O stars and dreams and gentle night, O night and stars return, and hide me from the hostile light that does not warm but burn, that drains the blood of suffering men, drinks tears instead of dew. Let me sleep through his binding rain and only wake with you. I am the only being whose doom. I am the only being whose doom no tongue would ask, no eye would mourn. I never caused a thought of gloom, a smile of joy since I was born. In secret pleasure, secret tears, This changeful life has slipped away as friendless after 18 years, as lone as on my natal day. There have been times I cannot hide. There have been times when this was drear, when my sad soul forgot its pride and longed for one to love me here. But those were in the early glow of feelings since subdued by care, and they have died so long ago, I hardly now believe they were. First melted off the hope of youth, then fancy's rainbow fast withdrew, and then experience told me truth in mortal bosoms never grew. 'Twas grief enough to think mankind all hollow, servile, insincere, but worse to trust to my own mind and find the same corruption there. Long neglect has worn away. Long neglect has worn away half the sweet enchanting smile. Time has turned the bloom to gray, mold and damp the face defile. But that lock of silky hair, still beneath the picture twined, tells what once whose features were, paints their image on the mind. Fair the hand that traced that line, dearest, ever deem me true. Swiftly flew the fingers fine when the pen that motto drew. Remembrance. Cold in the earth and the deep snow piled above thee, far, far removed, cold in the dreary grave. Have I forgot my only love to love thee, severed at last by time's all-severing wave? Now, when alone, do my thoughts no longer hover over the mountains on the northern shore, resting their wings where heath and fern leaves cover thy noble heart forever, evermore. Cold in the earth, and 15 wild Decembers from those brown hills have melted into spring. Faithful indeed is the spirit that remembers after such years of change and suffering. Sweet love of youth, forgive if I forget thee, while the world's ride is bearing me along. Other desires and other hopes beset me, hopes which obscure but cannot do thee wrong. No later light has lightened up my heaven, no second morn has ever shone for me. All my life's bliss from thy dear life was given. All thy life's bliss is in the grave with thee. But when the days of golden dreams had perished, and even despair was powerless to destroy, then did I learn how existence could be cherished, strengthened, and fed without the aid of joy. Then did I check the tears of useless passion, weaned my young soul from yearning after thine, sternly denied its burning wish to hasten down to that tomb already more than mine. And even yet I dare not let it languish, dare not indulge in memory's rapturous pain, once drinking deep of that divinest anguish. How could I seek the empty world again? The night is darkening round me. The night is darkening round me. The wild winds coldly blow, but a tyrant's spell has bound me, and I cannot go. The giant trees are bending, their bare boughs weighed with snow. The storm is fast descending, and yet I cannot go. Clouds beyond clouds above me, wastes beyond wastes below, but nothing drear can move me, I will not, cannot go. Love and friendship. Love is like the wild rose briar. Friendship like the holly tree. The holly is dark when the rose briar blooms, but which will bloom most constantly? The wild rose briar is sweet in spring, in summer blossoms scent the air. Yet wait till winter comes again, and who will call the wild briar fair? Then scorn the silly rose wreath now, and deck thee with the holly's sheen, that when December blights thy brow, he still may leave thy garland green. No coward soul is mine. No coward soul is mine. No trembler in the world's storm-troubled sphere. I see heaven's glories shine, and faith shines equal, arming me from fear. O God, within my breast, almighty, ever-present deity, life that in me hast rest, as I, undying life, have power in thee. Vain are the thousand creeds that move men's hearts, unutterably vain, worthless as withered weeds, or idlest froth amid the boundless main. To waken doubt in one, holding so fast by thy infinity, so surely anchored on the steadfast rock of immortality. With wide embracing love, thy spirit animates eternal years, pervades and broods above, changes, sustains, dissolves, creates, and rears. Though earth and moon were gone, and suns and universes ceased to be, and thou wert left alone, every existence would exist in thee. There is not room for death, nor atom that his might could render void, since thou art being and breath, and what thou art may never be destroyed. Stanzas. I'll not weep that thou art going to leave me. There's nothing lovely here. And doubly will the dark world grieve me, while thy heart suffers there. I'll not weep, because the summer's glory must always end in gloom, and follow out the happiest story, it closes with a tomb. And I am weary of the anguish increasing winters bear, weary to watch the spirit languish through the years of dead despair. So if a tear, when thou art dying, should haply fall from me, it is but that my soul is sighing to go and rest with thee. The Two Children. Heavy hangs the raindrop from the burdened spray. Heavy broods the damp mist on uplands far away. Heavy looms the dull sky, heavy rolls the sea, and heavy beats the young heart beneath that lonely tree. Never has a blue streak cleft the clouds since morn, nor has his grim fate smiled since he was born. Frowning on the infant, shadowing childhood's joy, guardian angel knows not that melancholy boy. Day is passing swiftly, its sad and somber prime. Youth is fast invading sterner manhood's time. All the flowers are praying for sun before they close, and he prays too, unknowing that sunless human rose. Blossoms that the west wind has never wooed to blow Scentless are your petals, your dew as cold as snow. Soul where kindred kindness no early promise woke, barren in your beauty as weed upon the rock. Whither, brothers, whither, you were vainly given. Earth reserves no blessing for the unblessed of heaven. Child of delight, with sun-bright hair and sea-blue, sea-deep eyes, spirit of bliss, what brings thee here beneath these sullen skies? Thou shouldest live in eternal spring, where endless day is never dim. Why, seraph, has thy erring wing borne thee down to weep with him? Ah, not from heaven am I descended, and I do not come to mingle tears, but sweet as day, though with shadows blended, and though clouded, sweet are youthful years. I, the image of light and gladness, saw and pitied that mournful boy, and I swore to take his gloomy sadness and give him my beamy joy. Heavy and dark the night is closing, heavy and dark may its biding be. Better for all times from grief reposing, and better for all who watch like me. Guardian angel, he lacks no longer. Evil fortune he need not fear. Fate is strong, but love is stronger, and more unsleeping than angels' care. From Silent is the House. Come, the wind may never again blow as now it blows for us, and the stars may never again shine as now they shine. Long before October returns, seas of blood will have parted us, and you must crush the love in your heart, and I the love in mine.